Exodus chapter 20. The 10 Commandments. Then God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other God before me. You shall not make for yourself any idol or any likeness, form, manifestation of who is in heaven, above or on the earth, beneath or in the water, under the earth, has an object to worship. You shall not worship them nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous, impassioned God, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely mine, visiting, avenging the iniquity, sin, guilt of the fathers on the children, that is, calling the children to account for the sins of their fathers, to third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing graciousness and steadfast loving kindness to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, that is, irreverently, in false affirmations, or in ways that impugn the character of God. For the Lord will not hold guiltless nor leave unpunished the one who takes his name in vain, disregarding in reverence and its power. Remember the Sabbath, 7th day, to keep it holy, set apart, dedicated to God. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath, a day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant or your livestock or the temporary resident foreigner who stays within your city gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and the everything that is in them, and he rested, ceased on the 7th day. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy, that is, set it apart for his purposes. Honor, respect, obey, care for your father and your mother, so that your days may be prolonged in the land of Lord your God gives you. You shall not commit murder, unjustified, deliberate homicide. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal, secretly, openly, fraudulently, or through carelessness. You shall not testify falsely, that is, lie, withhold, or manipulate the truth against your neighbor, any person. You shall not covet, that is, selfishly desire and attempt to acquire your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Now all the people witnessed the thunder and the flashes of lightning and the sound of the trumpet and the smoking mountain, and as they looked, the people were afraid, and they trembled and moved backward and stood at a safe distance. Then they said to Moses, You speak to us and we will listen, but do not let God speak to us or we will die. Moses said to people, Do not be afraid, for God has come in order to test you, and in order that the fear of him, that is a profound reverence for him, will remain with you, so that you do not sin. So the people stood at a safe distance, but Moses approached the thick cloud where God was. Then the Lord said to Moses, Thus you shall say to the Israelites, You have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. You shall not make other gods to worship besides you. gods of silver or gods of gold. You shall not make these lifeless idols for yourselves. You shall not make an altar of earth for me, and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I cause my name to be recorded and remembered through revelation of my divine nature, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stone for me, you shall not build it of cut stones, for if you use a chisel on it, you will profane it. Nor shall you go up to my altar on steps, so that your nakedness will not be exposed on it. Exodus chapter 21. Ordinances for the people. Now these are the ordinances, laws which you shall set before the Israelites. If you purchase a Hebrew servant because of his debt or poverty, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th year he shall leave as a free man, paying nothing. If he came to you alone, he shall leave alone. If he came married, then his wife shall live with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she gives birth to sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall belong to her master, and he shall leave your service alone. But if the servant plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not leave as a free man, then his master shall bring him to God, that is, to the judges who act in God's name. Then he shall bring him to the door or doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, strong needle, and he shall serve him for life. If a man sells his daughter to be a female servant, she shall not go free after 6 years, as male servants do. If she does not please her master, who has chosen her for himself as a wife, he shall let her be redeemed by her family. He does not have the authority to sell her to a foreign people, because he has been unfair to her. If her master chooses her as a wife for his son, he shall act toward her as if she were legally his daughter. If her master marries another woman, he may not reduce her food, her clothing, or her privilege as a wife. If he does not do these 3 things for her, then shall she live free, without payment or money. Personal injuries. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies must be put to death. However, if he did not lie in wait for him, but God allowed him to fall into his hand, then I will establish for you a place to which he may escape for protection until duly tried. But if a man acts intentionally against another and kills him by design through treachery, you are to take him from my altar to which he may have fled for protection, so that he may be put to death. Whoever strikes his father or his mother must be put to death. Whoever kidnaps a man, whether he sells him or is found with him in his possession, must be put to death. Whoever curses his father or his mother, or treats them contemptuously, must be put to death. If men quarrel and one strikes another with a stone or with his fist, and he shall does not die but is confined to bed, if he gets up and walks around leaning on his cane, then the one who struck him shall be left physically unpunished. He must only pay for his loss of time at work and the cost of treatment, and until he is thoroughly healed. If a man strikes his male or his female servant with a staff and the servant dies at his hand, he must be punished. If, however, the servant survives for a day or two, the offender shall not be punished, for the injured servant is his own property. If men fight with each other and injure a pregnant woman so that she gives birth prematurely and the baby lives, yet there is no further injury, the one who hurt her must be punished with a fine paid to the woman's husband, as much as the judges decide. But if there is any further injury, then you shall require as a penalty life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. If a man hits the eye of his male servant or female servant and it is destroyed, he must let the servant go free because of the loss of the eye. And if he knocks out the tooth of his male servant or female servant, he must let the servant go free because of the loss of the tooth. If an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox must be stoned and its meat shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be cleared of responsibility. But if the ox has tried to gore on a previous occasion and its owner has been warned but has not kept it confined and it kills a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned and its owner shall be put to death as well. If a ransom is demanded of him in return for his life, then he shall give whatever is demanded for the redemption of his life. If the ox has groomed another son or daughter, he shall be dealt with according to this same rule. If the ox grows a male or female servant, the owner shall give to the servant's master 30 shekels of silver, the purchase price for a slave, and the ox shall be stoned. If a man leaves a pit open or digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit shall make restitution. He shall give money to the animal's owner, but the dead animal shall be his. If one man's ox injures another's so that it dies, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the proceeds equally. They shall also divide the dead ox between them. Or if it is known that the ox was previously in the habit of goring and its owner has not kept it confined, he must take restitution of ox for ox, and the dead animal shall be his. Exodus chapter 22. Property rights. If a man steals an ox or sheep and kills or sells it, he shall make restitution of 5 oxen for an ox or 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief is caught breaking in after dark and is struck by the owner so that he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him. But if the sun has risen, there will be blood guilt for him. The thief, if he lives, must make full restitution. If he has nothing, then he shall be sold as a slave to make restitution for his theft. If the animal that he stole is found alive in his possession, whether it is ox or donkey or sheep, he shall pay double for it. If a man causes a field or vineyard to be grazed bare or lets his livestock loose so that it grazes in another man's field, he shall make restitution for the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. If fire breaks out and spreads to thorn bushes, so that the stacked grain or standing grain or the field is consumed, he who started the fire shall make full restitution. If a man gives his neighbor money or other goods to keep for him while he is away and it is stolen from the neighbor's house. Then, if the thief is caught, he shall pay double for it. If the thief is not caught, the owner of the house shall appear before the judges who act in God's name to determine whether or not he had stolen his neighbor's goods. For every offense involving property, whether it concerns ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or any piece of lost property which another identifies as his, the case of both parties shall come before the judges who act in God's name. Whomever the judges pronounce guilty shall pay double to his neighbor. If a man gives his neighbor a donkey or an ox or a sheep or any other animal to keep for him, and it dies or is injured or taken away while no one is looking, then an oath before the Lord shall be made by the two of them that he has not taken his neighbor's property, and the owner of it shall accept his word and not require him to make restitution to. But if it is actually stolen from him when in his care, he shall make restitution to its owner. If it is torn to pieces by some predator or by accident, let him bring the mangled carcass as evidence. He shall not make restitution for what was thrown to pieces. And if a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it gets injured or dies while its owner is not with it, the borrower shall make full restitution. But if the owner is with it when the damage is done, the borrower shall not make restitution. If it was hired, the damage is included in the price of its fee. Various laws. If a man seduces a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he must pay a dowry, marriage price, for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay money equivalent to the dowry of virgins. You shall not allow a woman who practices sorcery to live. Whoever lies with an animal must be put to death. He who sacrifices to any god other than to the Lord alone shall be put under a ban for destruction. You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not harm or oppress any widow or fatherless child. If you harm or oppress them in any way and they cry at all to me for help, I will most certainly hear their cry, and my wrath shall be kindled and burned. I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall become widows and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any one of my people with you who is poor, you shall not act as a creditor, professional money lender to him. You shall not charge him interest. If you were take your poor neighbor's robe in pledge, you must return it to him before sunset, for that is his only covering. It is his clothing for his body. In what shall he sleep? And when he cries to me for help, I will hear him, for I am compassionate and gracious. You shall not curse God, nor curse the ruler of your people, since he administers God's law. You shall not delay the offering from your harvest and your vintage. You shall give to me the firstborn of your sons. You shall do the same with your oxen and with your sheep. It shall be with its father for 7 weeks. On the 8th day you shall give it as an offering to me. You shall be holy men to me. Therefore, You shall not eat meat from any animal that has been torn to pieces by predators in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs.